As an educated meathead, I want to be doing everything I can to recover from each training session. Rapid Reboot compression therapy is one of the tools in my tool belt that I not only use in just my office, but myself after every single leg session, and it really makes a difference. Use my promo code Dr. Marvin Says to save money on any of the compression systems. That is definitely Dr. Marv approved.
I've been a bodybuilding coach for over 25 years. My list of who I think are great coaches is very short. Our guest today is on that list. IFBB Pro and Prep Coach Extraordinaire Dom Cardone answers the questions: why Retatrutide needs to disappear from contest prep diets, and what he's doing with his competitors that no other coach is doing. Sit back and crack open a Monster Zero because you're between two dumbbells. I'm your host, Skip Hill, and I'm bringing over 40 years of bodybuilding experience to the table, including over 25 years of online coaching. I'm joined today by Dr. Marv, aka the Educated Meathead, and our guest is IFBB Pro, Dom Cardone. Ladies and gentlemen of the audio radiance, you're between two dumbbells. Dom, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. Happy to be on here. And just to add, former IFBB Pro.
I left that out because I wanted you to say it, because I'm like, this is a good setup for your lack of hubris. You're like, okay, I was a former. To the rest of us, you're a pro. We've never been there. So we're like, he's a pro.
Well, thank you.
The fact that you don't pay $400 a year for a pro card that you're not going to use, I don't fault you for that.
Yeah, my dad would say the same thing. You're not former. Stop saying former.
And paying for pro status?
Oh,
that's for another show, I guess. But all right, you're known for getting guys into absolutely peeled condition on a regular basis. Your name is synonymous with that type of top-level condition. So the first question I have for you is, what are you doing with clients that other prep coaches aren't doing?
Okay, my mind goes into a few different ways, but
I can see the gears turning.
It's not a general blanket statement, of course. First, I will start by building it up from experience. So I have been coaching since I was 16. My dad was my first client, and I did it as like a sub, asked people to coach them for free for years. And then it became like a side thing, and then I wound up going full-time. But I have made a lot of mistakes throughout. I've also had a lot of great mentors. I mean, Oscar Arden, AJ Sims, Cement Factor being one of the biggest, Chad Nichols. I mean, they actually all used to teach me. And of course, just knowing so many guys in the industry that would share information with one another. So the experience that I've had, and with all the mistakes that I mean, for years, I would bring guys in just super flat for a show. Just get peeled, just get peeled.
Right, peeled.
2 hours of cardio, 2.5 hours of cardio, no carbs, T3, this and that, and wonder why they didn't really pop on stage, and then throwing diuretics at it. So I believe it was my ability to not only make those, it was my ability to be aware of the mistakes that were made, to fix them. And of course, as we know, every person's an individual case when it comes to prepping. But the experience has definitely played a big part, because I've worked with a lot of people, made a lot of mistakes, and hey, still do every once in a while to this day. But the experience, I think, definitely trumps most, because, not to put myself up on a pedestal, I believe a lot of coaches are newer in comparison to how long I've been doing it for, right? So experience plays a big part. Two, because of the experience that I have with working with so many people of all different levels, without overcomplicating things and without overanalyzing, I like to pay attention to all the small details. So, I mean, every single detail, from their sleep to their recovery to their mental state. I like to know what's going on in their personal life, because we know that can be catastrophic to a prep. Monitoring the data I see if we do refeed days, refeed meals, but also too, not only within the prep space, but in the off season. So for me, the off season is much more important than prep. I mean, number one, that's where the muscle's built, but two, that's where I get to basically program this athlete's body to do what I want.
Right.
So when we go into a prep, and being said that that athlete is listening to everything, everything just goes like that. I mean, it's just firing away. Things are clicking, but then when something goes wrong or something maybe doesn't happen the way it should, which is rare if all the steps were followed
Right.
the way they should, it's easy to pinpoint where that problem came from, fix it, and just keep moving on. So, I mean, it's the attention to detail, the level of experience I had in the time I've been having doing it, but I'm also learning. And, you know, I have this saying, I don't know if it came from somewhere. I have this saying, the day you stop learning is the day you die. And that applies to all aspects of life. I mean, relationship, we're always learning about who we're married to, who, you know, you should have a good idea in the beginning, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying? But we're always adapting in some way, either it be a sport, a business, a relationship. You know, we all have to continue to grow. So I'm always looking to learn. And again, without overcomplicating, without leaving the fundamentals of what I do and the strategies of what I do. Don't know if that answered your question,
No,
but
it does. And here's the thing. I didn't know if you were going to be able to say, okay, well, again, the lack of hubris.
Bigger gains don't come from guessing. My bodybuilding anatomy and meathead biomechanics 101 courses teaches you how muscles actually work so you could train smarter, lift heavier, and grow without breaking down. Real anatomy, real biomechanics, real bodybuilders demonstrating every movement. This is the difference between lifting hard and lifting intelligently. Learn it once, use it forever. Get access now at theeducatedmeathead.com.
Acknowledging that the reality is you are top tier prep guy. So,
Thank
you know, you said something earlier that I think is important. You touched on the experience, and obviously I'm a big fan of the experience too. And I always think to myself, okay, that guy has been coaching for a very long time. There's a lack of consistency. So here's what I kind of come to. I think experience brings the ability to consistently do great work. The younger coaches, a lot of times, and I'm not speaking for all of them, I'm not going to make a blanket statement, but by and large, and I can say this based on the fact that I've been around for a while, so a little bit of deference from the listeners for this particular opinion would be great. You can get it right, say the majority of the time, if you're a young coach. But there's so many things that you haven't seen in so many scenarios and situations that you haven't dealt with, that's where you can get into that minority, the small amount of time, maybe the 30% of time where, yeah, okay, you're not getting it right. You're a great coach, but you don't have a lot of experience. You run into those problems and you don't know what to do. And then it's just kind of a crapshoot. So I think, again, that's where the experience, obviously, the experienced coaches also need to be those types of coaches like yourself that are willing to continue to learn. And not all of them do that.
no.
They can sit back and go, you know, I'm going to ride this. I know it's difficult myself to, if I hear something or I want to check on something or research something, there isn't a lot of time to do that because I'm a busy coach. But at the same time, for me to not do that, then I just kind of sit here. I'm going to be sitting here idle. And then I've got other coaches picking up all this knowledge. So I'm completely with you. I just wasn't sure how you would respond to that question. The
Like
conditioning,
the 80-20 rule applies, right? Like you
yeah,
need reps to know what to do for the 20% of people that it doesn't work. Like here in the
exactly.
office, right? Like I joke with patients, you're my 80-20. Like you're, good God, you're my Rubik's Cube. You're the person that what I normally do isn't working until you get reps. How the hell are you going to know what to do?
Yeah.
And it's not bad being a young coach, but like what stood out to me, Skip, real quickly is one, he said mental stress matters, especially during prep, because people will try to force going through a divorce, I'm going to prep. Okay, that may or may not work out very well.
Yeah.
And then two, you've pushed on the off season, which a lot of people, oh, I'm only going to work with a coach during prep. I'm like, how? So you expect them to learn your body while you're also diet? Like, how are they going to learn your body and figure out what's works for you? So the off season, I completely agree, is way more important than what the average person, especially a beginning bodybuilder, right? They come in here, oh, well, I'm going to hire a coach when I start prep. I'm like, you need to hire him now to give him at least 3 months on the bare minimum. That's probably not enough to start learning your body before you go down that rabbit hole, but they don't want to hear that.
You know, I don't want to turn this into an advertisement for Team Skip, but I will make this point to your working with people in the off season, that being more important. I actually incentivize my clients to come on in the off season, even if they just want to prep
Smart.
with me. I will literally charge them 50% of the off season fee because it will benefit them so much and it'll benefit me so much. I would rather have that lead up time because by the time we start prep, I have a great idea of how you're going to respond to the vast majority of changes that we're going to make. No, not for peaking, things like that. We'll trial and error things as we go through and get leaner in the prep, but a lot of information. There's a lot to learn right there from the off season. I think it's a great point. Now, when it comes to peaking, I don't want to sit too much on peaking because I do think our viewers are more like, I want to hear about the training. So I do want to get to that. But when it comes down to the condition on stage, your guys, I mean, and I'm not trying to, blow smoke up your ass, XOXO and, eggplant emojis and everything else. But your guys, I see everything and I see what's going on out there. Your consistency is remarkable with your clients because they're not just ridiculously lean or peeled, if you will, but they're not flat.
They're full.
So I don't want to ask for secrets or anything like that. I don't expect you to come on the show and be like, this is what I do and let everybody walk away and go, yeah, and that's not higher dom. But is there something, and I say different, you may not know exactly what other coaches are doing, but is there something that you're doing in that last week with carbing up versus drying out that you haven't done before and you kind of came to, like in the past, but you came to this and you went, oh, this really works. Now, again, not giving specifics, but there was a teaser, like I got something, that type of thing.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you. That does mean a lot coming from you. And, I am very grateful to have those athletes who are able to follow what I say and communicate on the same level so they can get in that type of, condition. But, the peaking, it has become like an art for me. And I love peaking. Of course, we know the athlete has to be, I like to have guys ready weeks out. So at that point, again, not going into too many specifics because I will go on for an hour about this, but I want my guys to be ready early. And usually if somebody's ready early, we can pull back on cardio. We can start feeding more. Sleep gets better. We can even pull back on some of the PEDs that are in play. And that's, a whole nother topic where, people don't realize that the drugs place some sort of stress in the body, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes more is best. I'm guilty of doing it in the past, thinking, let's do more and take more. And it's like the opposite reaction of what we're supposed to get. So, of course, everything leading up to the peak is extremely important, making sure they're ready, making sure they're sleeping, making sure they're recovering, as we touched on before, mental stress, just making sure they're in a good place going into that peak. But just to give a general overview of how I would approach a peak, that last week, we aren't training hard whatsoever. We're probably not doing cardio. But I'm going to start feeding. If they're already not at a high point in food going into the peak, I'm going to start feeding them about 8 to 7 days out.
Okay.
Because the mistake I made in the past, I would get guys in crazy shape, but then wait till like 2 or 3 days out to start carbing them up. Next thing you know, the metabolism is ramping up to this insanely high rate. It's like feeding a black hole. Then we're possibly adding in diuretics and lowering water, and then they were crazy flat on stage. And the day after the show, they look awesome. So
yeah, exactly.
So I kind of reverse it. So they're already ready. What's the worst that can go on? Let's start feeding. Let's get those glycogen stores used to being somewhat filled again. Let's make sure they're hydrated going into the peak. Usually by Wednesday, look pretty damn good. And then, of course, I adjust accordingly. I just can't stress enough. You have to be sleeping the week of peak. Mm-hmm. Because we know if you're not sleeping, you're going to hold more water. Cortisol is going to go through the roof, all that fun and fancy stuff. But sleep is literally the most important piece because not to go too deep into this. I know we're going to talk about training. When Ross Flanagan did the Indy Pro, his first pro show, he looked amazing, incredible going into that week. And that was his first pro show. And the night before the show, and he's spoken publicly about this, so I can speak on this. He takes an edible, a weed edible. Well, I wake up the next morning. He looks at me. He goes, I fucked it up. I go, what? He goes, I look, and I'm like, what? I'm like trying to like keep like a poker face. I look at him and he looked like he was, I don't know, 5 weeks out worth of water. He wound up having like a panic attack during the night. Didn't sleep the entire night. And it was, but we learned from it. And then he wanted to go on to the next year and win the Cali Pro. But so sleep is definitely has to be dialed in that week. I'm monitoring water. I'm monitoring salt intake. I rarely ever play with salt. If anything, I bring it higher.
Sure.
Uh, I mean, we know what that does. But yeah, general overview without going into details, that's pretty much it. And again, every person is completely different. I may use a little bit of diazide with somebody, I may not. I may keep somebody's water higher, I may not. But I'm playing with it starting usually 3 days out. We're updating after every meal because things are changing that rapidly. And I like to be 2 steps ahead. So just in case, all right, if you're going a little flatter, we'll just up the food or up the sodium. If we need to take care of a little water, maybe we'll pull back on the water, or maybe we'll microdose a diazide or whatever.
Mhm.
So it's gets down to this nitty gritty of the details of watching after every meal, seeing how they feel, and watching their weight. Are they losing too much weight? Are they
Right.
blowing through food to the point where they're just dropping at a crazy, amount? So it's just about paying attention to the details, right? And then, usually everything at that point is so predictable for me that in a humble way, I want to say I can kind of do it with my eyes closed if they're ready.
Sure.
And being that they're in a low stress environment. But yeah, no, I love peaking because you're kind of just, not really like playing chess, but just kind of moving things around strategically and just watching it change every single meal. Like that's fucking fun for me.
So
So
you
Well,
mean you don't give somebody their peak week protocol 4 weeks out?
don't get me started with that. Do not get me started with that.
Yeah. I don't think there's a really though. There's not a top level, well
I
respected
know, but
guy
I'm just
who does
saying.
that. But I know
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
should be your first sign as an online prep coach. That if you're doing anything ahead of time like that, you're just going down the wrong path, bro. You need to like go get a job at a bank or something else. I don't know what to tell you. I was impressed by something that you touched on with your client. You must have a really good rapport and a good relationship with your client, especially that client, because he could have very easily just thrown your ass under the bus and went, "Yeah, I don't know what my coach is saying. This guy, he doesn't." And it happens. And it even happens on a high level.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind blowing. And the only thing I can come back to, or the only thing that kind of makes sense, is that entire lack of accountability. They're just like they can't accept. Yes, I made this mistake, and I've lost. Yeah, I'm not going to mention any names. But I lost a pretty good guy. I don't even want to say at what level, but a higher level that did something that I told did not okay, did not, and he told me that I did. And I'm like, bro, you know better than that. Are you kidding? And he literally left me. And I was just blown away, even though I've been in the industry for a long time. Those things can cut to you, man. You're like, you gotta be
Yep.
shitting me, man. And we had a good run, but one that time didn't go very well for the reason that he made those changes. So, and I can say, well, I think I have a lot of respect for my clients, but that one I certainly didn't. So I just thought it was funny that at least he owned it. And he's like, yeah, okay, we'll keep going on. We'll learn this lesson and we won't do that again.
Yeah. So I mean, him and I do have, I mean, we've been working together since 2018. I mean, when he was an amateur to when he turned pro to when he went to the Olympia. But yeah, him and I, he's always been nothing but honest. But I also tell, over the past couple of years, when I do get in a consult with somebody, I tell them I have some non-negotiables. And one of the non-negotiables is honesty. I will always be honest with you. It does neither both you or I any favors if I lie to you in any way.
Right.
I expect the same back. Please be transparent with me. If you fuck up, just tell me. I may get upset, but I do respect the honesty because maybe we can fix what went on.
Right.
And then I have, all have worked with people that, something there isn't being done as you told them. They won't ever admit it, but but I do stress with everybody I work with, competitor and non-competitor, just always be honest.
Yep.
We need, for the most part, we only know what we know. So honesty is one of the non-negotiables I have with everybody I work with. And I mean, the athlete should have that. Unfortunately, not everybody does, but
Right.
again, that's that athlete-client relationship that is one of the many factors that make it work.
Well, you can't fix a problem if you don't know what the problem is. And I think that's, tell the client, look, what do I fix? I don't know. It's not working. And I think anybody with any amount of experience, you read between the lines. and you can clearly know, but then you have to be careful because you also don't want to be accusatory if for some reason they are and you just haven't made an adjustment, or the adjustments you've made haven't gotten to the point that they're making progress or enough progress at that point. It's a delicate balance.
It is.
The relationship, and this is what I hear from you. So, I'm going to ask you, but I kind of know, I think I know the answer to this. So hopefully the trainers who are listening, or the people who want to train or be better trainers, will get this. Do you not have really good relationships? Like, and I say sincerity is a part of it, because you can fake that you're invested and your clients will see through that. There's also a lot of trainers who are just very distant, and to each their own. Everybody can do what they're, doing in their own fashion. But I know in my experience, I've seen that with those relationships comes better progress. It's almost like it's together. There are exceptions, there are outliers, but the vast majority of them, if you have that rapport with them, they tend to progress better. Is that, have you seen it or no?
For the most part, yes. And I do, especially the last few years. As I said, I like to know what's going on in your life. Aside from a coaching standpoint, it's more from a human standpoint as well. Like, are you okay? Like, is everything other than body
Yeah,
okay? So
exactly.
there's that part, but that's separate. But like you said, there are outliers, because some people, that type of relationship, they may not take you as serious.
Exactly.
They
Yeah,
may look
that
at
is
you like, this is my friend, not my coach. But there are the individuals like Ross or like myself and many others where, you take the hat off. This is the friend hat. Take this off. It's time to be
mhm,
coach hat, or time to be athlete hat, whatever it is. But yeah, it absolutely can help, because you get to know the ins and outs of what's going on in their life. There is a level of trust too. It
right.
takes time to build up trust. Just because somebody starts working with you, I tell them straight out, I need to build up to the point of being able to trust you. It's not against you. I don't know who you are,
Right.
and you don't know who I am fully, at least on a working level. You may have seen us in social media. So yeah, it can definitely benefit most. But like you said, there are some people who, once you bring in or feel they are crossing over that line of friend, then they don't take it as serious. So,
Yeah,
but
there is a boundary there. No,
yeah,
no question. I think the most important thing that I can think of where it's relatable is you have an understanding of whether there are outside stresses, whether it's financial issues, whether it's relationship issues or things like that. And I know I've had clients tell me before, when they kind of like, a client will implode. And then they're like, hear from 3 weeks. I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm checking in on you. If everything's great, that's cool. You're busy, but otherwise, reach out. Well, I had this, and happen. Why? I just didn't want to tell you because I just didn't think you cared enough to, my personal issue. I just need to kind of man up. And I'm like, I've never told anybody to man up as a client. It's not in the PC, number one. Maybe if we went back 15 years, I might have said that.
yeah.
But I need to know that stuff, or I want to know that. I guess I don't need to, but I want to know that because I benefit from knowing that as a coach. So again, like you said, there's different styles. I mean, different styles of training. I think these days, a lot of us, there's a lot of good trainers. There's a lot of intermediate good trainers that maybe the majority of the time they can get the average person into really good condition. But then you have the top tier guys who are just very, very consistent over long periods of time. And when you see that guy, you're like, you know what? That's Dom's guy. And then sure enough, it is. Or it's, another top, trainer's guy. What's on my brain that I wanted to ask you about was, you have not necessarily an older client, a master's client, but predominantly it happens in this demographic. You got a client coming into a show, maybe he's 4 or 5 weeks out, and you see, man, there's a lot of distension here. Like, what's going on here? Um, is there something? Do you have something? And again, I want to be careful because I don't expect you to throw out, all this, a ton of this information for free. But do you have ways or specific things that you do to battle? I always laugh and say, if you have trained through the 90s, the force feeding era, and it
Yep.
worked, we got 5 inches on our chest and shoulders, but we got 4.5 on our, midsection. We all battle that with that to some degree. So is there something that you think, oh yeah, let's do this. We can have to, do you have those protocols?
For 4 to 5 weeks out, if so, let's say Bob comes to me and he wants to compete next year. One of my first, and he has distension issues, one of my first priorities is to get that taken care of right off the rip. So when we go into prep, we're not having those issues. Now, if it's happening in prep, something is causing it that we're
Right.
doing at the, if it wasn't there prior, right? Maybe it could be oral steroids. Maybe it could be something with the diet. Are his bowel movements frequent enough? Is he stressed? I know I keep talking about that, but it is a huge factor. I mean, when I got ready for the New York Pro and my mom was dying in the hospital, I remember walking around the hospital with this belly. I never had a belly, no matter how much food I ate. And I remember not being hungry. How's their sleep? So my thought process as a coach, if you have distension issues, we got to get that off the rip. Are you having any gut dysfunction? Maybe we'll run a GI map, see if there's
Right.
something going on internally that needs to be fixed. I've seen that before. Look at the food sources you're using. But my goal would be to reduce that before we go into prep. And again, once that's done, we're in prep. Um, it won't happen, especially as you're getting leaner. You're more than likely going to be in a less inflammatory state.
Right.
So I haven't had that pop up except once that I remember. It was actually last year with a national level athlete, super heavy, and his stomach started poking out a bit a couple weeks out. And he was trying to get it in, trying to get it in. We're trying to figure it out. We were using Reta. We pulled that out.
That's where I was going, Dom.
Yep, same
I
here.
was waiting.
Same
Dr. Marv
here.
knows that's where I was
Yeah,
going.
I
Sorry,
was
go
waiting.
ahead. I just
Yeah,
got
yeah,
excited.
Yeah, I was like, it has
So-
to be. Yeah.
So we were using a little bit of Reta, pulled that out, noticed a big difference. Still had a little bit going on. Ran a GI map after the show. Horrible case of SIBO, but he's also had it
Oh.
before. He had it
Damn.
years before. Fixed that, so it crept back up. We also did track back. We were feeding a lot in the off season. I mean, probably a bit too much at times. His body was becoming resistant. But yeah, the Reta definitely did not help him. And that's why I would advise people that say, if you have any type of gut dysfunction going on or distension, you should not use a GLP-1 drug in any way, shape, or form.
You know, and that's why I got so excited because
Mhm.
I started Reta about a little over a year ago, maybe 15 months. And I kind of used it with the intent of, I'm going to use it and check the box and be like, this sucks. It doesn't work. And, you know, be able to tell my client, and I don't want to tell my clients, like, advise them on a compound if I've never used it. So I'm not a professional bodybuilder, but I am a professional drug user. And I have used everything 10 times over and in every way you can, you know, yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So it's like, you know, there aren't a lot of people who've done that amount of drugs, but so I try it and I'm like, oh, I'm blown away by it. And I'm like, wait a minute, I keep pushing up my calories like every week, every 2 weeks. Like it's just melting off me like butter. Like what the hell? So I didn't think about it. I come into a prep this last year and everything's going great. But I did think to myself, I had two things going on. I felt like I was, that sounds kind of silly because everybody feels this way, but I felt small. Like I just felt smaller than I normally. And I'm like, oh, that's odd. But, you know, I figured it's prep. It is what it is. You kind of just, you know, put it back there and keep going. But then the distension started to get out of control. And so I'm like, what the is going on? So I did. I went to the Reta. My brain went to the Reta and I thought, okay, it's possible. So let's try to eliminate this variable, start to taper this down and see what happens. And it did help a little bit, but I didn't completely remove it. And looking back, and the cool thing is I was able to compare my pictures from the year before at the same weight to the year on Reta. And I'm looking, I'm like, I think my legs are like 2 inches smaller. And I handed them off to a handful of people that I respect. I'm like, tell me what you see, because I know what I see. And they're like, yeah, wow, like, holy shit, what's the difference here? I'm like, the Reta.
Yeah.
So coming into this prep, I'm like, you know, and I'm a little nervous about it because I haven't not used it. I've been using it for 15 weeks or so. But I started prep this week and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to taper it down super fast and get it out and see what happens. And if I don't like the response for whatever reason, I guess I could put it back in at a smaller dose, but I don't even want to play with that. And this comes back to coaching decisions and everything else. I am the type of person that I can't change 5 things at once because Yeah, okay, it may work, it may not work, but I need to know what it was that worked or didn't work. So if I leave it in a little bit, let me just pull it all the way out and let's see what happens. I'll probably have a quicker response to it and be able to see, okay, am I filling out more? You know what I refer or compare it to is it's kind of like in the metformin days.
Mm.
We have that, okay, it would work, but you just really feel flat. Contractile force isn't what it normally is. The pumps aren't as good. There's just this off.
It's like at
And
what
we're
cost?
so caught up in the weight and getting
Yeah.
leaner that we don't see, oh, okay, there's still a couple other things going on over here. So you've only seen that with Reta on that one occasion, or have you seen it with other, maybe it wasn't distension, but you see that flat versus full, that there is an impact with that?
So you the flat versus full with
Yeah.
the Reta you're
Yeah.
referring to?
Yep.
Yes. And again, this is what drives me crazy when people on the internet give preset dosages for Reta and even tirzepatide. It is so individual with how you respond to it.
Yeah.
Like, I did it before I told anybody to take it, took some of Scooby's peptide seminars, and yeah, it made, and I'm not a bodybuilder anymore. I barely even weight train much anymore. My martial arts is the main focus. I don't take anything more than true TRT. And I noticed it made me look so skinny, like skinny fat. So I'm like, if this did this to me, which I'm still 241, 242 pounds, what can it do to a bodybuilder that's metabolism is ramped up by all these drugs and having much more muscle? So I have seen guys in prep run very flat on it. And again, some guys, maybe not so much, but I think it's due to the glucagon effect of it, because for me, Reta didn't do a damn thing for my appetite up until I got up to 4 milligrams.
Oh, is that
It
right?
made me hungrier. Like,
Really?
like 2 weeks out hungry. Uh-huh. When I got up to 4 milligrams, which I made a big jump up just to see what would happen, and this is last year, it tapered back the appetite, but I didn't sleep for a month. My resting heart rate was like 90. It was insane. So back to what we were talking about in preps, yes, it can absolutely keep you flat because you're just ripping through food. I guess it's from the glucagon component. And then of course, how fast you process nutrients isn't going to be there because gastric emptying is slowed in some way.
Right.
So it's kind of like burning the candle at both ends. So that's why I usually tell people, like, again, I don't like to make general statements, but usually want it out before it's time to peak if you're using it. Now, we also have to be careful of using it in prep too, because if you stay too flat for too long, we know what that does with the volume of the muscle. Maybe a little hard to fill that out if it's been that flat for so long. So do I think it's a great tool? Yes. Do I think it could be a great benefit for health purposes? Yes. But it has to be used very carefully in prep, because some of the guys in the Olympia stage last year, we saw some of those stomachs, and they didn't have them before. Listen, could there be other factors? Yes. But we pretty much know who was using what.
Yeah.
And, I think the dosages too were a bit higher back then. Some guys looked flatter than they normally do, but I have seen it with guys too, where it just keeps them feeling like a smaller version of themselves, more so than that mental prep, thought that guys get when they're in.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Just get leaner so I don't feel
sleep
big.
duration and the heart rate was what surprised me the most. Because now that I'm off everything for 2 months, everything, not even TRT, which feels great, I'm like, holy shit, like I'm sleeping to my alarm now. Before it'd be 5, 6 o'clock, wide awake with a resting heart rate. As soon as I wake up, 82. And I'm like, good God, all right, I guess I'm going back on to Bivol, right? And then that came out, and then I was like, oh my God, my alarm woke me up again today, right? So yeah, that matters. And like, I was super sensitive, 0.25 milligrams. I messaged Skip. I'm like, I can't even get 1,000 calories in at 0.25 milligrams total a week. I've never been sensitive to anything. This is wild.
0.25 for the week?
It destroyed me for the first month.
Really?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it as
I
well.
was blown away. It didn't make any. That's why I messaged you. I was like, Skip, is this right? Like, this
I may have thought you meant like a day.
Yeah, no, it was a week. Like, it was wild. So I worked up. Now I'm using it for complex regional pain syndrome. And then FYI, if a patient's autoimmune, I refer to another clinic, and that really helps their inflammatory markers. So autoimmune, it's pretty spectacular, but you're still way low dose, right? Starting at like maybe a milligram, maybe doctor supervised, not self-prescribing, not giving direct medical advice, but it works really well for that. But yeah, Like, had I just gone to 2 milligrams, because that's what Joe Schmo says on the internet, like, I can't even imagine what would have happened.
Yeah, I've had a client, not to go too off. I've had somebody, I started him on 0.25 a week, quarter of a milligram a week, and he couldn't eat, and it was just nonstop diarrhea.
Yep.
It was, again, so it varies. That's why I tell people, just start low, give it time, see what happens, because so there's so many unknowns when it comes to dosing with these drugs.
Sure.
And we don't know long-term safety data. We just don't. So
Right.
Look, we're competitive bodybuilders.
correct.
We don't
I
give a
know, but
shit.
I'm just saying though.
No,
But I am
I'm
saying though,
kidding,
with
I'm
everything
kidding.
else that we're doing, and then people
Yeah.
are mega dosing it. Like, I had a patient this week, 6 milligrams of tirzepatide and added a milligram of Reta. I'm like, whoa, what? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? So, anyways, I digress. Sorry, we're going down a rabbit hole.
I kind of think I was going to kind of close it out on this. This is just my prediction, I guess, and I'll be the guy. I could be wrong. It could be completely wrong. I think in the next few years we might find only this much use of Reta in the industry when we have this much now. I think that more people are going to realize, okay, this helps and this was really beneficial for this, because I think a lot of people are using it primarily for hunger and arguably for the wrong reasons. It's a nice little side effect, but if that's why you're using it, it's like people saying, oh, I want to skip load. Well, you want to skip load because it's going to benefit you, or do you just want to throw food in your face and you think it's a free for all? It's two different mentalities. So I think that there are clearly, at least so far, health benefits and everything else. I mean, they're talking about, the society's A1Cs coming down, and like 2/3 of people are under 7 now, where they weren't. It's our generation's insulin, as far as I'm concerned, is from a pharmacological like invention, if you will. If you don't own stock in Lilly, it's probably a good idea to do that. Anyway, little financial advice. Even Andrew agreed with that on BSG about 3 weeks ago. Said he was doing the same thing. But not everyone wants to stand on stage in a thong, but they might want to look like they do. You might be thinking, this guy is old. How could he possibly get me into my best condition? Teach me how to optimize my training and save me time while doing it. Reach out to me and let's discuss your goals for 2026. 25 years of online coaching, 41 years of training, 35 years of competing. That's a lot of experience and wisdom. Reach out and let's discuss your goals. It has those benefits, but I think in bodybuilding, I think it's not going to be phased out, but I think a lot of people are going to pull away from it. I always say it's going to be my old guy jacked look, because it will benefit me to keep, my love of pancakes and burgers on the weekends, but I can stay lean doing that anyway. I just have to be careful of the distension, because nobody wants to walk around the beach jacked at 56 and go, oh, look at the guy. He's got muscles, but he's got a big old turtle belly.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, I could see it kind of phased out, or at least the use going down considerably. But, then the bitch is they're already working on a fourth mimetic. They want to add, Lilly wants to add IGF to it. Nice try, Lilly. We're one step ahead of you, bruh. We've been doing that for a while, so you better get to the fifth mimetic. I mean, they're lining them up. And Reta's going to probably be FDA approved this year in 2026. I mean, that's why they're coming down so hard on the gray market. And we got to get a little slicker on that level. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to get demonetized here.
Nope.
But I do want to switch gears, if it's okay, to the training. And what I'm wondering is, you've been around for you've been trained for what? How many total years? I know you were super young when you started.
16, right?
15 14, 15 when I started training. I'm 32 now. I look a lot older. The beard doesn't help. So yeah, it's been what? 16? No, oh my God.
Yeah,
Like 17 years?
Yeah.
17,
Okay.
16, yeah.
Yeah, so roughly like 08, 09, 2010 in there. Okay.
08 was when I started training.
Okay, and this is going to apply. I mean, you're one of the best people to answer this, because of the time you started training. What have you seen, or some of the biggest things, or the most obvious things that you've seen with the changes in training methodology, ideology from that time versus now? I can think of a couple that kind of stand out to me, but I'm wondering what you think.
I mean, I think,
and whether they're good or bad, quite frankly.
I mean, I think there are good and there are bad, right? Back then, for the most part, everybody was balls to the wall, train as hard as you can, train to failure, free weights. It worked. High volume. It worked, right?
Yep.
I would have changed that a little bit with my form and how I executed some of my movements.
Right.
So there's that. So comparing it in that sense to today, we don't see people training as hard as they should.
Okay. All
I
right.
believe that for the most part, too many people are caught up on fatigue, which is a real thing, and recovery, which is a real thing. But yet they're taking all of these drugs and they're looking to train less. Now, for some people, training less is great, right?
Mhm.
But for most people, with the intensity and intention that they're having in the gym, it's just not there. And I think because things have become a bit overcomplicated and people are analyzing too much based on all this information they see on social media and YouTube, that they kind of get stuck and then they're not really training as hard as they should. Meanwhile, they just need the meat and potatoes of what the basics were and to work them hard. So I do believe that things have become a little overcomplicated because of the high influx of information that goes on. What is good for those that are aware of it and are training hard is the recovery aspect of it, because we know how easy it is to do too much, especially
Right.
if you're a normal bodybuilder. By normal, I mean just a fucking maniac in the gym. You can overdo it, right? And we're talking about injuries, it hindering your how much you can grow in prep, all that good stuff. So I do feel as a whole it has become overcomplicated to the point where guys aren't training as hard as they should. I This is my opinion, but I feel like, notice how we don't see that many sets of great legs and backs on guys. Remember the legs, like, even at the national level, the legs on guys, the sweeping quads, real thick
Mhm.
down by the knee, turning to the side, the ham just hangs, turn to the back, the lats are hanging. It was just like in your face density. Look at a national level show and a lot of pro level shows these days. I don't really see that as much as we used to. Even the not so good pros back then had that for the most part. Of course, somewhat. I feel the reliance on machines has become a bit too much, and people can argue with this with studies. Well, there were clients that I had. I said, "Hey, what have you?" If I'm not doing their training, I would say, "Hey, what have you been doing for training?" Or I may watch them on Instagram. They all know I watch, uh, especially if I'm on the toilet. Um,
Which we
so
usually are. Yeah.
yeah. So and then I'm like, no, no, you got to. Why are you using just all machines? I go, and these are guys in the beginning phases, mid phases of their career as a bodybuilder. I go, you need to start working with more free weights. And I kid you not, within a month, it's a completely different look. So that's another piece I feel too that have gone away. And I know people today will argue, oh, risk versus reward. This and the looks have changed.
Yeah.
Look
I
at the
agree.
bodybuilders very early on, all the way up until machines really became more of a crutch than anything. It is a different look in terms of density and that granite
Yeah.
hard look that comes with that density, not from drugs, not from dieting. There's just a certain look to the muscle. And yes, of course, there's a risk. So I do feel people have gotten away from the meat and potatoes of what works, which in my mind is training hard with, listen, I do like machines. I do like using them for accessory work. I love how
Sure.
much some of the new tech machines and all that. But listen, man, where the results don't lie of what we're seeing through time with how physiques are changing, right? It's not a drug thing. It
Yeah.
can't be a diet thing, because I feel as a whole, coaches have gotten more advanced with their
Agreed.
methods of dieting and not just starving people and not killing them with cardio. So what is left aside from genetics?
Mhm.
It's the training, 100%. So, that's been a big thing. Like, I've really been thinking about the last year, especially with dealing with a lot of my clients and seeing pros, is that you're just not seeing them throw around that heavy iron with good form, not like
Sure.
how I used to do it. So, yeah, I know it's kind of all over the place, but that's, my thoughts on how training has changed in a nutshell.
I want to take that to you, Dr. Marv,
Mhm.
and I want to posit this. Is that look that we had, say, in the 90s, the Ronnie look is a good example. We can all relate to that. That king, everybody bow to the king. No one has touched him. I don't know if anybody will before I die. That could be tomorrow, but whatever.
Oh, God.
And look,
No, don't say that,
I
Skip.
always attempt
No.
levity, okay? I'm a laugh or cry kind of guy. But anyway.
So Dom, you'll replace Skip and we'll just keep it going. That's
Right, we'll just keep it
story.
going. Between two dumbbells. No, I'm going to take it to you, Dr. Marv, because I'm wondering, is there then the argument for that look based on, and correct me if on these terms if I'm wrong, but the myofibro growth versus sarcoplastic growth?
So that's a lot of like, how much tension? Are you a volume-based guy or are you a super heavy guy? But I do say free weights will get more granite look like Dom's talking about, because your stabilizers have to work. What has gotten small? Calves and forearms. They're non-existent.
Yeah, but calves don't matter anymore. That's why.
I know. But look at forearms at a local level show. They're all tiny because all these guys are doing, because the machines are awesome. Don't get me wrong. Now, I'm weird because I had 9 surgeries before I found the gym. I'm not going to do a bunch of free weight stuff because I'm limited, but I'm never going to be a pro or a good bodybuilder. But you will get a lot more work with stabilization plus motor unit recruitment. And then I'm always big on free weights is how you build up injury resilience, because you have to resist against gravity versus everything locked in a plane. You want to get be all show, no go, only do machines. And the second you step out in the real world, you twist with something in your arm, you're going to pop something or hurt something. So it's also injury prevention. Plus, I completely agree with Dom that the physiques look different because you're having to fire stabilizers and you're not having everything locked in. And I'm, in a perfect world, you start with a lot of free weights, a little machine, and it kind of switches as we get more advanced. We pick up injuries, but you're still doing free weights and then finishing with machine work like Dom talked about. I think that's the way to go. Now, you could also, we've talked about, what about not putting your bench press first, but putting it last, right? It's a finish. It's like there's different ways to do it, but the look of myofibrillar versus sarcoplasmic's more just training load. And
that's what I'm wondering.
Stuff. Yeah.
And I'm going in with the assumption that, and maybe it's a bad assumption, but the assumption that if you're using free weights, that it is kind of I don't want to say grip and rip, but it's an explosive, we're benching like we used to bench.
And it's a bigger stimulus though, because now you have to stabilize everything too.
Right.
So then all that's going to get work. So if you never have to stabilize anything, once again, you get out on the real world, you're all show, no go. You're fragile as shit. You're going to get hurt.
Okay, but what I'm wondering is this, because I might not be I'm not explaining it very well. Let's say you're doing free weights and you're doing machines, but your free weight exercises are of the modern, very strict, very slow versus what we used to do in the 90s. And let's be fair, side laterals look completely different. Bench pressing look complete. So I even wonder if that type of, and it's my own term, and maybe it's not very accurate, but grip and rip, that type of,
but everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think that even though that we've progressed from that and we see, okay, there's a higher risk of injury. Yes, the amount of weight you move isn't necessarily directly related to hypertrophy. It is, but if you bench 500 pounds or you bench 400 pounds, it's hard to see a visual difference in chest development with that. So I just wonder if there is still something or more to that type of training. The explosive, Ronnie, let's be fair, Ronnie, and I know he's a genetic freak, so it's hard to talk about, well, it's because of his training. Maybe it's because he picked his mom and dad really, really well. I don't know. But that type of look, those guys with that type of look back in the 90s and even into the 2000s, they trained that way and they kind of all looked that way. Other than maybe the Bob Paris's.
And they're training to failure. And if you get myofibrillar growth, you have to get sarcoplasmic. If you get sarcoplasmic, you don't have to get myofibrillar. So that's going to be the big thing, right?
There you go.
So ideally, you're getting both, right? Super heavy, and then finish with your pump and squeeze California Pro style workouts at the end. And again, I know Dom's probably going to agree. RIR is the best / worst thing to ever enter bodybuilding.
Well, you covered yourself there. Right or wrong, he's going to agree with you there.
Well, it's the best for advanced people, but it is the worst for beginners.
There you go.
Absolute worst.
There you go.
It's great for the people who've actually done the work and trained to failure. They've done the DC. They've done the fortitude. They've earned the right to do RIR, because remember, the study I always bring up, yes, there's limitations. Average gem pop was 8 reps shy of what they thought failure was on a leg press. 8 reps is a shit ton.
Mhm.
A
That's
shit
a
ton.
set.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So
I mean,
like,
come
but that,
on.
and again, it is a study. We know there's limitations, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. But like that shows you. So once again, I know I'm a broken record. How the bleep are you going to know what one RIR is if you haven't spent a minimum of 3 years? I'd prefer 5 going to failure. Cause like Dom said at the beginning of the show, whatever you do in life, I don't care if it's gym, finances, relationships, you should look at what you did 5 years ago and be like, good God, that was terrible.
Right. Right. I'm further along now, thankfully, than I
Yep.
was then. Yeah. And that applies obviously to training. It applies to coaching. I mean, I know sometimes I go back and I think, I don't, I've got what, 20 some years of threads of clients on intense muscle. I don't want to dig back into that and know what I did then. Not necessarily that it was horrible, but
Yep.
compared to, it's like, I sure hope it's a lot different because if it's the same,
Uh-huh.
I probably need to get a
Yep.
different job. Phil Viz touches on that. He always laughs and says, man, go back to intense muscle and look at the questions I used to, bug skip with, 10 questions every day and just how silly it is and the things we argue. And at the same time, it can be argued too that are we good coaches because we also got outside of the box? So there's that too.
Well,
That
just to give you an add into that, Oscar told me when I was 18 or 19, whatever, a long time ago, he was like a great coach knows when and how to think outside of the box.
Yep.
And I just think I posted that in my story, the other day, but it always stuck in my head because like, as I tell people, and not to go too far off the subject, if we could teach bodybuilding in a book, there would be no coaches. It would be a one size fits all
Sure.
manual, right? So having the ability with the experience to know when and how to think outside of the box is extremely important when it comes to, coaching our athletes. So that's actually a great point that you said, Skip.
I'll go one more. I think it's the reason, and I feel very comfortable with this. And look, I've been in the business for a long time. I'm not sure I'm going to be relevant at 60 years old or 65. So I have to come up with a different retirement plan. But nonetheless, AI has replaced my writing, at least with Elite FTS so far, which is disappointing, but I understand why they went that way. 13 years of writing with them. And I thought, oh, AI is going to get me one of these days with writing. Well, it was October. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. AI can't get prep training.
No.
It can't do it because it's too nuanced for AI. And especially now, arguably in 10 years, maybe it'll be a lot better, but it still won't be able to replace, well, not only the results in the changes from adjustments and everything else, but let's be fair. Most people, my opinion, I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, most people still want the relationship and the rapport with a coach. They want the support, they want the accountability. They're not going to get that with AI. Even if AI could replace 100% those decisions, and I don't think it'll ever get to that point. It arguably just can't.
I don't believe it will, because here we were talking about, if the boundaries are crossed over and somebody becomes more of a friend than a coach, that human element has to be there for accountability. And for some, that's hard. Now, a computer, people are going to be honest and accountable with a computer that's talking to them.
Right, right.
I don't think, and plus just having that human element of emotion and feeling, like if ChatGPT tells me, yeah, great job, 2 weeks out, I'm just reading it on a screen, but having to be able to speak to your coach and go through the process with your coach and celebrate the wins and fix the losses. And there's that human element that will never be replaced by AI, aside from, what the details and the work that we do in the prep when it comes to the diet, the PEDs, the training, and the certain look that we're looking for. I feel that human element is super important and not going to be replaced.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. I think, Dr. Marv, is it time for intimate time?
I think it is.
What we do is we'll ask you 10 questions, just in case the viewers might not know either. We ask 10 questions to everybody who comes on the show, but they can't be related to bodybuilding. So it's not about picking up heavy things, setting them down. It's not about music you listen to on the way to the gym or chicken and rice or anything like that. It has to be complete. And it gives the viewers a kind of a non-bodybuilding related reference to, Dom and
Okay.
Dom's, life. So you want to start it, Dr. Marv? We go back and
Sure.
forth. We kind of
Yep.
alternate.
Yep. I always do my deep first and then finish with fun. So What's a moment in your life where you almost quit something important, and what made you stay in it?
He gets way deeper than I do, dude.
Uh, well, I mean, there's been a few, but the main one, the first one that comes to mind was when I got ready for the New York Pro in 2016. My first and only pro show. My mom was still dealing with cancer, went into a coma 6 weeks out. I was 249 pounds, a few weeks away from being ready. Lived in an ICU for 3 weeks, slept in a closet, still trained, still ate all my meals. Like a week and a half out, I mean, I looked horrific. She passed away 3 weeks out, 2.5 weeks out. So like a week after, I remember calling my dad, and I'm picturing it in my head of where I made the phone call. I was laying in bed, and I said, I think I should, pull out of this show. I don't really want to do this. And I looked awful. I mean, day after the show, I was 200 pounds after food and water. It was, I didn't weigh 200 pounds since I was like 18. And he goes, no, you're not. He goes, you're going to finish what you started. Your mother would tell you finish what you started, and you're going to. I said, basically, say no more. And I did. And I'm glad, even though it wasn't the outcome that I thought I wanted it to be, and that was projected to be able to look back and deal with everything that went on in that ICU room, which was a lot, then the funeral and everything else that came along with it. It gave me that next up level of mental fortitude for other things that would come in my life. Because now if something happens in my life, my wife doesn't like this sometimes. Like, oh, we'll figure it out. I'm like, it's not a big deal to you. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, not really. I mean, I also saw what my dad went. He lost his wife and house burnt down, and I'm like, and I remember watching him, how he handled things. And so now at this point in my life, I'm just, all right, it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
I'll handle it. It's not a big deal to you. I'm like, no, we'll take care of it. So again, that wasn't the way I wanted my bodybuilding career to end, but it had to end that way because all roads lead to where we are today. And I'm at a great point in my life, an amazing point in my life. And I'm, of course, grateful for not her dying, but the lessons that I learned throughout that time period and beyond, because I kind of did go off the face of the earth for a bit. But yeah, no, it gave me a level of resilience and drive that, still comes into play today.
And if you didn't do it,
Yeah.
you might have regretted not doing it. So there's
Absolutely,
that, which is very
because
important too.
I would have never competed in a pro show. I tried coming back, had my health issues from the mercury, but yeah, I did have the experience of stepping on stage with Victor and John De La Rosa and Max Charles and Nathan Diaz. I mean, Dexter Jackson, and having pictures with them backstage, and everybody knew what went on. But although I didn't place the way I wanted to place and look the way I wanted to look, I got to step on stage and be backstage and talk and take pictures and feel like I was a part of the crew with the guys that I looked up to going back to 2008. So all that other stuff aside, very happy I did it.
All right, well, now my question's going to be really boring. God, I was giving Marv crap for like, oh, he's got the deep questions, and then you have a great answer. Okay, so here we go. If you're a Harley guy, what's your current bike?
No, is that really the question?
Yeah, it is.
Dude, I love motorcycles. So no. So I have the same bike I've had all these years, 2016 Dyna Street Bob.
Nice.
I actually got that bike a month after she passed because my parents rode. It was a way for me to, it was a way for me to get in the road and spend time with my dad. So I still have that bike today. It was off the road when I never got rid of it, although I moved. I knew I'll get back on it. When I was trying to come back into bodybuilding, I didn't want to risk injury, so it sat. So actually last year, even though I retired 2022, after the wedding, I told my wife, I'm going to get the bike back in the road. And I did. And I actually had an SNS 124 put in it. So
very nice.
It's a beast. It's actually in the shop right now back in Florida, having them rewire everything and kind of tighten up some loose ends. But yeah, I've been riding for the last year. But yeah, 2016 Street Bob, won't get rid of it. Even if I get another bike, we'll never get rid of it. There is a lot of memories and a lot of emotional attachment I have to that bike because a lot went on after I stepped away from bodybuilding. But yeah, I love Harleys.
For what it's worth, just because you said SNS, I had a rigid with a Springer with an S&S.
No
Dude.
fucking way.
Dude, I would be this far. People behind me were riding with me, and they'd be like, dude, we don't like to go on the highway with you because you're this far off the seat on the bumps. And I'm like, I mean, you know, imagine. I'm like, I got lower back issues. Nah, I'm good on the bike. I just can't do it in the gym.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of these days maybe we'll be able to ride. Have you been to Sturgis? I don't want to get.
I've never been to Sturgis. No,
You got to go just once. It's a white trash festival, but the riding is really good. Or ride in Colorado. Holy shit.
Well, it's funny you say that. My wife's from Colorado.
Oh.
So at some point, yeah. So now I got her into riding, and she's never rode a motorcycle until me. So I kind of been getting her adjusted. So Sturgis is at some point, but I do want to go riding in Colorado in the mountains with her at some point.
We were spoiled. We got to Florida, we sold our bikes. I'm like, I can't do this. This is fucking hard. It's dangerous, and it's just grid riding, just straight down the road.
Terrible where we are. I just try to stick to the 441 in the Everglades because I'm like, yeah, it's not to go off the tangent, but yeah, you know how it is in Florida with the bikes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Dr. Marv, I apologize because I just took up about 5 minutes with that question. Yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
So I'm gonna have to ask my questions in a row because I'm gonna have a new patient here. So real quickly, Dom, somebody follows you around with cameras for a week. What's gonna surprise people the most about your real day-to-day life?
So I'll try to answer your questions as quick as possible. They're gonna see I live a very boring life.
So easy to kill. Yeah, easy to kill. Just follow you for a day and they know where you're at.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then one last deep one, and then they're fun. What's a personal flaw or habit you've had to actively work on, and are you winning that battle yet?
Oh man, there's been quite a few. Especially as we get older, we become aware. I would say overthinking, especially the last 4 or 5 years when it comes to my MMA training and just certain things. Definitely overthinking was a flaw that I've been actively working on and that I'm still getting a lot better. And I mean overthinking, not with my coaching, it's just like personal stupid shit, you know? So
okay, I give you $10,000 you have to spend within 24 hours on a guilty pleasure. What are you getting?
It's going to be something motorcycle related. So I'm probably going to go out and buy an FXR to start a build.
Okay. Last but not least, what is your most irrational adult fear that you know is stupid, but it still gets you every time?
Irrational adult fear. The fact that I could be buried alive.
Oh, okay.
Oh God, yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, like my woman's watching Fear Factor came back right with Johnny Knoxville. I'm just like, yeah, no, I wouldn't do any of this. Like
there's too many snakes in that.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm an anti-snake guy. I'm like, I ain't watching.
Oh my.
Yeah. So I'll end with this. A buddy, he loved letting his snakes and iguanas out in his house without telling me, and I hate reptiles. I'd be like, dude, stop. Like I was like, I'm not going inside your house until you show me a FaceTime video that they're in the cages.
I got chills going up my neck and everything else. Just don't even bring that shit anymore.
So, all right, gentlemen, Dom, it was awesome. I really appreciate you coming on. And then Skip, we will be in touch. But have a wonderful day, gentlemen.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Great to meet you.
Likewise.
I'll bang out the last 4. What's the one thing you do or the place you go only because your wife wants to, but you'd rather not? I love putting people on the spot with their spouse.
No, I like these questions. So I have to say my wife is amazing in all ways. And she knows, like, if I don't want to go somewhere, I'm probably not going to go. So she's very, I guess I want to say fair with the places that we go. But I will say, like, dinners that I don't want to go to, like with people that I maybe don't know that she's friends with and I kind of have to go. I like to, if I'm going to be social, I kind of want it to be with people I know. You know, I kind of stay in my shell a bit. But yeah, for the most part, like, she's great like that. If I don't want to go somewhere, I don't go. So yeah, if I had to answer, I would say those dinners that I don't want to go to.
You know, your wife, I don't know a lot about your wife, but the pictures that I've seen on Instagram and just the things that you do, I sometimes have thought his wife is a lot like my wife. And here's an example. She can get done up, you know, probably wear, you know, designer stuff and, you know, things. And yet she can just as easily put a do-rag on her head and Harley boots and chaps and get on the bike and is, it appears, equally as comfortable in both roles. And I just think that's cool. So you talk about the support there. My wife is very, very similar to that. And it's funny, and I'll touch on this real quick, is dealing with clients and whether they're competitors or not competitors for so many years, I have found myself so many times going, man, what would it be like to not have a supportive spouse to where you had to, I mean, you got guys who hide their gear. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, like that just, so I just think about things like that. And I'm reminded, I've been married for 32 years. We have 4 kids and 3 grandkids, but, and not only married, but happily married. So a lot of people that long, you're like, oh, you've been together a long time. They're like, yeah, fuck my life. I can't stand my wife, or something like that. And we have a blast. It's really not much different. It's actually arguably a little bit better because we don't have the kids around. I love the kids, but we don't have to deal with the kids' stuff anymore, unless we go visit them or they visit us. So I think there's some parallels there for sure. Does she ride, by the way? I mean, does she have her own bike?
No. So
Okay.
she rides with me now. Like she'll go on the back of the bike, and she never rode in the back of a bike before. She was kind of like hesitant at first, but she was like, I know you love this. I want to do it with you. And then eventually it came to, oh, let's go on a ride. She'll be like, oh, why don't we go for a ride in the bike? So, but yeah, no, she does ride with me. And like you just said, she can get dressed up for that, or she can get dressed up to go to the shooting range. And it looks like that's what she does. But yeah, she also knows me, and she knows if I want to do something, I'm probably going to do it anyway, within reason. She could be my voice of reason, but she's as supportive as it gets, as long as it's not self-destructive,
Sure.
or anything stupid. But yeah, she's like, you could do whatever you want. Just don't cheat on me.
Right.
Don't go get high on drugs, and just go have a good time and go do whatever you want. So I'll be right there to support you the whole way along. So again, as long as it's not self-destructive. So.
Right. All right. Now this is what I have to ask every person that comes on. I'm a horophile. Do you wear a watch that is not a Fitbit or an Apple Watch? And if so, what is it? Horophile's a lover of buying timepieces, I guess.
I have a Bentley. Oh my God, a Breitling Endurance that I've been wearing a lot.
Oh, I'm a Breitling guy. Love that. Okay, very cool. I know exactly what you're talking about. On that note, have you seen? And I wonder what your opinions are if you have seen them. That Breitling sponsored the NFL this year, and they have an NFL line. I don't know if you
haven't. So I haven't seen that, but I don't know how I feel about that.
That's how I didn't want to give my opinion first, but I just thought, I think that's a little lower brow for Breitling. I was kind of surprised by that. And the typical NFL fan is going to have to save to spend 10 grand on a watch because they're a, Dolphins fan or something. I just found that kind of odd. Now, bet they're not selling well. But outside of that thing with Breitling, I am a huge Breitling. Let's see. 1, 2, I may have bought 3 last year.
You love your Breitlings.
I do love my Breitling. Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. I'm glad, because usually it's Fitbit. They're like, hey, I got this fine timepiece. No, that's a Fitbit, bro. All right. Jordans, Veja, Louboutin, or British Knights? What are you wearing on your feet?
Okay, well,
it doesn't have to be one of those 4. I'm just making the point. Like, what do you wear for shoes?
My going out shoes, if we're going out to dinner or, to like a social event, I have quite a few I call them Louboutins. It's probably the Brooklyn in me.
That's all right.
Sneakers, I have a lot of those. But my day-to-day is usually Jordans. But I'm not like a shoe guy, right? Like there are guys who are crazy about releases and this and that. Like I'll go every 6 months, pick out 4 pairs that in different colors that look good, and I'll wear them out for the next 6 months until I buy more. So my day-to-day is Jordans or Nikes, and then going out, it's usually my Louboutins.
Okay. And listen, let's be fair. I know you catch shit from your meathead friends for wearing them Louboutins, right?
What's with the spikes? Yeah, you already know where I'm going with this.
Oh yes, yeah. You're a snowflake. There's all I know. I catch a lot. I'm not a Louboutin guy myself. Kind of an Oliver Cabell, Veja, that sort of thing. Little lower, so that I can have like 15, 20 pairs, so everything matches. I can't go that big with Louboutin because I'm on like 3 pair. I'm like, oh, they don't match. All right, last one. If you weren't involved in the bodybuilding industry, Dom, what would be your dream job, or what would you be doing? Which you're kind of transitioning to. I mean, you're clearly, prep guy, but I mean, you're kind of getting away from the industry a little bit, right?
Yeah, in my personal journey, I still have my coaching. I'm still very involved in the industry. But if God came down right now and said, which he wouldn't do this, but he said, I'm going to give you one thing to do differently. And it could be a different job. Well, excuse me, we could do a lot of things differently. Give you a different career path. I'm also two-sided on this. There's two answers, but number one would be to be a professional MMA fighter at the highest level.
Okay.
And it's not just for the sport, which I've been training for ever since I retired from bodybuilding. For anybody who doesn't know, I don't post about it. I've competed in jiu-jitsu quite a few times. I'm actively preparing to fight in MMA. It was a reason for me to get smaller. Learning the skills, and I mean, you want to talk about learning, it's never ending. Aside from that and the actual sport, the people that I've met along the way, for the most part, have been absolutely incredible people. I mean, you have people that can kill people with their bare hands, but yet they're some of the most friendliest and humble and down-to-earth people. So the community as a whole has been great, but also too, the mental part of, and all the little mental intricacies that go into martial arts, patience and discipline and all that good stuff has benefited my life as a whole. My coaching has completely changed, not completely,
Okay.
but changed in some great ways. My relationship, my temperament, my mood on a day-to-day basis, the way I view life and view people. So aside from like the violence and all the cool stuff, martial arts has been a massive impact in my life. And I say like, this is just me. I don't have kids, at least not now. Every kid should learn a martial art, wrestling, Muay Thai, something, because it will set them up to be so successful in life, or at least have, aside from being able to defend themselves, a mental point that most people will never have, right? The second option would be to be a special forces operator. I am a very, very big supporter of our military. One of my brothers is still in the military. One just got out. My great-grandfather's military. Great-grandfather was military. Actually, during my time off from bodybuilding, 2017, when I was going through all this shit mentally and not knowing what I was going to do with my coaching, I tried going to the Army. And they wouldn't have me at the time because I had a hand tattoo. Blessing in disguise. Spent the longest time getting rid of it. Got frustrated one day, and that's when I decided to go really full-time with the coaching. But getting to know, my family's in the firearm business. My wife is a competition shooter.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, rifle and a pistol. She's a competitive shooter. My dad has Cardone Arms USA. But through all that, getting to meet, and I've known veterans my entire life. A lot of my friends are veterans. But being able to see and get to know a lot of the guys, especially tier 1 operators, and see what they've done in their life, also their struggles as well. But it's very commendable to them and the respect they have for them to dedicate their entire life to serving their country and doing things that people would never see or hear about, and they don't get the accolades they should. So not to ramble on too long, it'll be, one of the two, either a professional MMA fighter or a special forces operator.
Fair enough. I'll close on this. The parallel, I was going to say it earlier, but I don't want to, I want you to take it at face value. I don't want it to seem offensive. But the parallel between your wife and my wife, this is the way I've always explained my wife. She's pretty much a dude, but she's pretty and she has a vagina. And that is the best combination. Like, that is something you want in a wife or a partner. I that's
agree.
just something I've even told my son that. I'm like, yeah, just make sure that the girl that you're with really likes guy things, like they're almost a bro, but they have boobs and a vagina. And he just laughed. He was pretty 16.
And they're feminine too.
Yes. Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yep. Because I agree. She's like that. I remember we met. What movie you want to watch? Let's watch a war movie. I was like,
right. Exactly.
My entire existence, no past girlfriends would want to watch war movies or this and that. And it actually makes me think of how my mom was. My mom was a very feminine, good-looking woman, but fuck with her in the wrong way or whatever. She was like about that. So
and I'm pretty sure that your wife doesn't put up with any shit from you any more than my wife does from me, right?
No. No.
Yeah, put
No
you in
way.
your place real quick. You're like, okay.
Yeah, no way. No way.
Okay, I'm not going to challenge that. Very cool. Well, on that note, Dom, I'm going to take us out. We got to get to getting. This is Skip, kind of Dr. Marv, and Dom splitting. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell. If you didn't like the show, pretend you did. Like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell anyway. Hit the hype button. I don't know what it does. Still haven't figured it out, but I think it's going to be beneficial for the show. Hitting any of those buttons sound a little something like this. Use the TrueNutrition.com link to save 10% on not just Team Skip protein, but every supplement they sell. Where can people reach out to you, Dom, if they have any questions or they want to hire you?
Feel free to contact me on Instagram. The handle is Dom Cardone, IFBB, DOMCARDONE, IFBB.
And we'll have it up on the screen, too, for those who... What did you just say? I don't know what that is. I better back it up. You can reach out to Dr. Marv at theeducatedmeathead.com, and you can reach out to me at teamskip.com. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to click on this link. There'll be a floating link right here for another episode of Between Two Dumbbells.